Welcome to the Aceman. It's time to go behind the funny. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Ace Aceto. I could do this because people can see me.
I know, it's very cool.
It's cool.
It's very, very cool. You're not watching this live. You're listening to it, or you've tuned into our YouTube page and you are watching it.
Yeah.
Previously recorded.
Just not live.
And if you're watching it there, just know that you can also tune in on Wednesday nights.
That's right. From 8:30 to 9:30 on Twitch. We are on the Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling channel. Among a bunch of other great comics.
Tons of great shows on that channel.
Other podcasts as well. Everyone has different time slots, and we are the 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. on Wednesdays, and we hope you join us live.
You can watch us record in the Acement live with our guests.
In the Acement.
Live from the Acement, behind the funny. So we're recording this week, the week before we actually go live, but the train never stops.
No.
We record every week no matter what, because we want to bring you the best in comedian conversations. And we have one I'm really excited about. And we say that every freaking week.
Well, because we're excited. That's why we do this podcast.
I so look forward to Wednesday nights and these conversations with everybody. But this is going to be a cool one this week.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it until I booked them. And then I started thinking, you've heard me talk on the podcast about how I started. I started at Periwinkle's, but almost simultaneously, I was at Rhode Island College at the time. And so I did comedy there. Ed Del Grande booked it. And one of the very first people I worked with at Rhode Island College was our guest tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
I did. That's the first time you've told that.
Yeah. See, there's a first for everything. Every once in a while, I don't repeat a story.
I love how you keep our relationship fresh with something new every once in a while.
Please stop. In the meantime, now you can actually see that we're not full of shit when we say our unofficial sponsor of the podcast
Jefferson's
is
Bourbon.
Jefferson's, and we're doing pretty good because this is the third week on this bottle.
Well, it's Ocean, and we tend to savor.
We do
Ocean.
We don't overdo Ocean.
No, when we get the small batch, which we love, we have a good time with it, and it tends to go faster. The Ocean, we tend to savor and enjoy.
We savor it
a little bit more,
so
but it doesn't matter. A bottle of Jefferson's is a good bottle of Jefferson's.
That's right.
No matter which one we get,
and someday they'll understand just how much we love them.
Someday
and send us.
I'm going to be outside their window holding a boombox above my head.
I told you we should do a bourbon trail trip one time
and stand in their parking lot with a boombox above our head playing all the times that we've mentioned them.
Yeah. and what's the song from Say Anything in Your Eyes?
Yes,
John
playing in the background as we talk about Jefferson.
And then as you see us, we'll record it. So as you see us getting handcuffed by the police for trespassing,
well, they can watch it on an episode of Cops.
Yeah.
Because it is in Kentucky.
We'll do a cross episode with Cops and Behind the Funny. Exactly.
Oh, that would be the ultimate. That would be the ultimate.
And
but
as
anyway,
usual, we went on a tangent right from the get-go.
Absolutely.
But we are very excited, as we always are, because this guy is, again, very, very funny guy, has been a headliner, corporate comedy clubs, private events. And again,
well-known, very accomplished.
Colleges, like I said, my first time working with him was at Rhode Island College at the old coffee ground. And among other things, and you're going to hear his story in a little bit, just how much he's done, what he's gone through in his life, and just how he's come out the other side on it. So we're really, really excited to welcome Mr. Tom Hayes to the Behind the Funny podcast. And we're just getting used to this whole StreamYard thing. So Tom's already saying hi. Hey, here he is.
Welcome, Tom.
Welcome, Tom.
And thank you, guys. What is that thing on the top of my head? What is? Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, that's actually our logo on the screen that was sitting on top of your head. Okay. It's the Stairway to the Acement.
Yes, it's the live from the Acement. It's basically
this logo in a smaller version,
but on a smaller version. So, but now you are center screen. You're the
focus.
You're the big show.
Well, thanks for the memories. Thanks for the walk down memory lane. My God, were those the great days of what, Ace, huh?
Oh, my God. Yeah. Like I said, I had started at Periwinkle's. I did it a couple of times. And Frank O'Donnell and Charlie Hall had said, hey, you know what? You go to Rhode Island College. Why don't you reach out to Eddie Del Grande? because he books comedy at Rhode Island College. You could probably get on a show. And that's what I did. I reached out to Eddie, and you were like the first or second time I was up on stage. Remember in the student union, it was downstairs,
Right.
and it was called the Coffee Ground. And on Monday nights, once a week during school, they would have a comedy night. And I mean, I worked with you. I worked with this guy, Steve Trilling. I don't know if you remember. Remember Steve Trilling?
Yeah. He was a fun guy.
Oh, he was hilarious. I used to love. He was one of those first guys on Comedy Central.
He was the teeth, right?
The big teeth. Yeah.
Yeah.
And his signature bit, I used to love this because he was very nerdy looking. Interesting thing about him is he ended up like working for semantic software. Like he's like a massive,
like MIT.
Yeah, he's like a virus, like a virus guy, like computer virus.
Concert cellist.
Yeah, I know. He talk about multi-talented. This guy was amazing.
You know what? We've had a couple of guys that we've talked to, Tom, on here that, Dwayne Perkins.
Yep, Dwayne.
Another guy that had advanced degrees in mathematics and computer science. Some of these really just brilliant guys that are very funny on stage and then just never really used the degree, just went on to be comedians.
I think Steve still does like corporate comedy, but he definitely is he's definitely like big in software. Cause I remember watching like NBC Nightly News one night, and they had on, it was like during like, I don't know, it might've been the Y2K thing,
Right.
And they had people from Semantic or McAfee or one of those. And it was Steve. I was like, oh my God, I know that guy.
Let me tell you, after what I paid for college for my 3 daughters, if all of a sudden one of them was doing stand-up, I'd be like, okay, you're paying me that shit back. Let me tell you.
Imagine if one of them went to MIT.
Yeah.
What that would mean, Scott, is you were a shitty parent.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would wear that crown, proudly. I just want my money back now.
these ladies are broken, Scott. That's what that would mean.
Well, but they're not swinging off a pole, Tom. So I'm only half a bad parent.
Well,
I'm the bad parent. My wife's the good parent. Then we weren't both bad.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Pole swingers, they'd be paid well.
True.
Yeah, making more than comics.
True.
So,
So when I worked with you, honestly, that was literally like 31, 32 years ago.
Was he already headlining at that place?
And he was, So let's go back. When did you start going?
I hate to tell you
comedy.
I hate to tell you this. It was more than that.
Oh yeah, because you were already headlining when I was, just starting.
It's great. This is a great segue because this is how I ended up in comedy. And when you talk about Eddie Del Grande, do you know where he is now?
I think he's still doing plumbing because he was Del Grande Plumbing. His dad owned the business, and I don't know if his dad handed him the business or I thought they had gotten.
I was there for that transition. First of all, what a great human being!
Oh my God! Always had a smile on his face.
Always. He didn't
remind him.
Right. He didn't belong in company. He was happy.
Yeah. He reminded me of not always just his looks, but kind of his mannerisms. He reminded me of Rich Seisler. Always had a smile on his face, very down to earth and easygoing.
And he was a booker.
Yeah,
and he was happy.
Well, he was a comic first.
He was a comic first.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, he was a hustler. He just was ambitious. I think I met him when he finally settled down. I don't know. I met him at the beginning of that relationship or whatever, but settled down. And then he got a big break. He got on a cable construction show. One of these.
That's what it was. Like This Old House or one of them.
Yes.
That's right.
And it was great. I mean, it was funny. I remember a scene they did where they were going through the house, and he was kind of going tete-a-tete with the host. And the host they got into a kind of you could tell there was a little tension there. The guy had gloves on the counter.
Yeah.
So they're walking like to another room, and there was a bucket right beside the gloves of the counter. And he went by Del Grande, went like that to the gloves, and the gloves went in the trash can.
That's awesome.
But he was, so this is how I ended up in comedy, because we shared the story. He won Showtime Cable's funniest
Yep.
person in Rhode Island contest.
Yep.
Did you know that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Showtime had come to Periwinkle's. This was a couple
Yeah.
of years before I had started. They came to Periwinkle's. They were looking for like the funniest person in each state, and then they would compete for the funniest person in the US.
Yeah.
And Eddie had won the funniest person in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I had won the funniest person in Massachusetts.
Oh.
Which totally spooked me, because I knew I wasn't, and I couldn't believe it happened. But you're absolutely right. They ran this national concert. Cable had just come out.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody was getting cable. You know, it was the standards. It was HBO, it was Showtime, blah, blah. And I'm walking by the TV set. I think my kids had it on a Saturday afternoon or something. And Showtime Cable, if you have a funny video, we want to see it. We have this contest, funniest person in America. Send in the video. Well, as fate would have it, and you know, I don't know if you know Bucky Lewis, a very famous.
Yep.
Okay, well, Bucky and I are doing a podcast, and what we're doing is classic comedy from days gone by, Lucille Ball, and
Yep. Yep.
so anyway, we generate those. We go back to those days and everything else. Well, we always talk about destiny, and you know, I see this as part of the thread that somehow, for some reason, we're born to do this, whether we know it or not.
Right.
And it shows up. And so what had happened was I was born into a family of magicians, the Italian, I'm half Irish, half Italian. The Italian guys all did a little parlor magic, except one, my uncle, was semi-professional and actually president of the Pacific Coast Association of Magicians.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I didn't know the guy because he had moved out to Monterey before I was born.
Yep.
But so that part of show business, if you want to say, was in the family. And so we all learned, and I really took an attraction to the magic. But one thing with magic is if you do not have a support base, magic is an antagonistic entertainment. People aren't just happy to see the trick. They want to catch you.
Right. Right.
Hey, yep.
Yeah.
So being a teen, it was just a fight. Every time I did a trick, I saw that, you know, and it was like, forget about it. I dropped it. And one day I was on a sales call. I was selling radiology film, and actually in Barrington, Rhode Island,
Yep.
a radiologist had an office there. And I was new at the job, but I knew the guy was close to coming over. And I said to my boss, I don't know how to close on this guy. He says, I'll do it. So we go in. And I could tell the doctor's on an off day. He's not his happy self.
Yeah.
And I say, hey, doc, you know, I was just curious if you thought about, you know, purchasing our film. And he goes, no. He says, and if you come back here before a month is up, I will never buy a film. Now, to me, that was a signal. Like,
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, doc, thanks. And I start heading for the door. And my boss, who's a very sophisticated guy, he was a semi-pro tennis player, belonged to the best clubs, Longwood, etc., reaches in his pocket and takes out this really crappy parlor trick, which was a cylinder, and it was a faked cylinder. It was a hollowed out, and on the top was a nickel. So it looked like he had 4 or 5 nickels, but there was only one real nickel, and then this thing. He puts it on the table, and I'm like, oh my God, he's not going to do this.
What is he doing? Yeah, right.
Hey, doc, he says, before we go, I just want to show you what happens every time you put a piece of Kodak film on the box instead of Fujifilm. And he goes like this, and he takes it, and the nickels are gone, and he shows him the cylinder. And I'm going, that's it. This guy's a radiologist. He makes $500,000 a year. He's a doctor's doctor. We're done. And the doctor goes, he starts laughing. He does a complete mood change, laughs, and says to him, if you show me how to do that, you got my business.
Wow.
Right? So I'm like, my God. So we go in, and he shows him how to do it. He goes, okay, send me a case of each here.
Yep.
And we're shooting. And now I'm brand new salesman. So I'm thinking, we got to go before this guy changes his mind.
Right.
Let's get out of here. And he keeps talking. We get to the door. And he says, wait a minute. And I go, I knew it would.
Here it comes.
While you're at it, send a box of each to my office down the street.
Wow.
Over over a 10-year period, we sold that doctor $1 million worth of film.
Holy shit.
You realize I'm buying some fucking magic tricks tomorrow for my day job.
I was just going to say, where's the local magic shop?
Exactly.
So imagine destiny, the spirit, whatever, the magic spirits are saying, boom, in your face, you are going to do. So I come running home. I was a little pack rat. I'm married. I got 2 kids. Everybody's like, "Hi, Daddy," and I'm like, "I don't have time." I run up to the
We're
daddy.
gonna get to the magic.
We're gonna be rich. We're gonna be rich. And I grab the trick. And the next day, I'm running around, and people are looking at me like,
"What the hell is this guy doing?
Was this guy crazy?" It's like nickels disappear under the desk. And but was interesting. I found a couple of radiologists who, when I did that, said, "Tell you what, you better come back here with a new trick every week."
Wow.
Okay, so now the yellow brick road opens. Okay, and now so I run down back. Thank God, Little Jack Horner joke shop was still alive in Boston. I go in, I knew all the things I needed. Give me that rope trick. Give me those balls. Give me this, and this, and I'm relearning all of this magic.
All this magic, right?
Keep my biggest account. He's my biggest fan. So a year. So and then my boss shows up in town, and I'm brand new. I'm only like 3 months on the job, and he looks at me and goes, "What's the matter with you? What's the matter with your pockets?" I goes, "Oh, nothing, man. Yeah,
Overstuffed.
You look like Captain Kangaroo." And I go, I got magic tricks. He goes, "Oh, wait a minute." He goes, "Oh no, this is professional medical sales. You can't be doing that." I said, "Watch." So we go down, and early in the morning in hospitals, what the radiology department is doing is barium enemas. Okay, these guys are walking around with.
That's the best time for magic.
Of course. Hey, Doc, you want to see a rope trick? Watch me thread this rope right through the patient.
Let's make last night's dinner disappear.
Yeah.
I've been out of the business now for over 20 years. And my buddy went to Mass General the other day and had to have a heart procedure. And so, he goes in the room, and I'm standing there. And of course, hey, I'm 74 now, and they're looking at me. And so what are they thinking? This guy needs a procedure.
Yeah, right.
Name and date. Can we help you?
You walk up. They're like, "Name and date of birth, please." And
I
do you have your insurance card?
And I had tried. I'm with stupid a few times. But that's not working. And so finally, I would look at them. I go, "Yeah," I said, I'd really like a barium enema. And they're like, "What?" Just kidding. It's the last thing you want. It's one of the most painful procedures you can have. Anyway.
Do you have this in a home kit?
Yeah, right. Can I get it to go?
Well, just a quick aside. One of my favorite stories. I walked into a chief radiologist office one day. He's laughing his ass off. I said, "What's so funny?" He says, "This morning a patient was on the table getting a barium enema, a woman, and halfway through the procedure, she reached around, grabbed the tube, yanked it out, and looked at the doctor and said, 'This exam is now over.'" Okay.
I don't even want to know what was happening.
That's ugly.
So,
but one thing that that I could say, because we have a lot of younger comics that listen to us, and a lot of people new to comedy or performing. But one important thing I think that you learned in that moment when he did that nickel trick is how powerful disarming people is with comedy or that distraction for a second. How powerful that is.
I had an epiphany the other day with you get into sales or whatever your profession is, and you try to, if you have any desire to be good and stand above the crowd, you study everything about it, and you learn all the techniques, and then after you figure it all out, why did you get the business? Personality.
Right.
That's it, folks. If I can teach the comics anything, get a personality.
Right. Yep. You're selling yourself more than anything else.
Exactly.
You're right.
Exactly.
That's why people were buying, not because my product was better or less expensive.
No.
It was me.
It was relationship.
100%. 100%.
A guy named Al Goshman, who was, at that time, TV was so exciting, wasn't it? When comedy, there was Evening at the Improv.
Oh, yeah.
Saturday Night Live, and then there was also like a magic show on. And one of the close-up specialists, one of the guys at tables, was a guy named Al Goshman. He would make things disappear right at a table. You were 2 feet from this man, and he would make things appear and disappear that would make you start to think, this guy's not messing around.
Right.
Magic. This is so. We got through the lecture, and everybody's taking notes and blah blah blah. And he goes, "I want to tell you something now." He says, "If you learned anything from this lecture, you are the magic, not the tricks."
Right.
And he says, "If you concentrate on you," and this is advice for all you young comics out there, it's developing that character.
Yep.
And understanding you're giving to the audience rather than taking laughs. That was the big move for me when I finally said, "Hey, wait a minute. As long as I'm interested in getting laughs, I'm screwed."
Right.
Because the audience has all the power. And once I shifted to, I'm here to give them. If you don't like it, I can't do anything about that.
Right.
So it's getting comfortable in your own skill. So anyway, so these guys we walk in, and they're all in their lead aprons. They're walking up and down the halls, going from room to room, sticking tubes up people's butts.
Yeah.
And they 5 or 6 of them look at me and go, "Oh my God, the magician is here."
Which I'm sure put all of the patients on the gurneys at ease. Where's he going to stick something and make it disappear?
Nothing up my sleeve. Ma'am, is this your watch?
Yeah.
I understand now. I'm giving you guys great fodder for this show.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect.
No,
So,
but let me ask you this.
I'm there doing rope tricks, pick a card.
Yeah. Look at this scarf.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's up your sleeve. It's over here. And we walk out, and we get in the car, and my boss goes, "What happens if you run out of tricks?"
I don't. Check my expense report.
So where did stand-up finally come in for you?
This is it. So now the docs are asking me not to just do close-up magic, but hey, my kid's having a birthday party. Can you? And like, of course, docs, you're giving me $1 million worth of business a year.
So they're asking their Fujifilm salesperson to entertain their kids.
Oh, listen, I've had
wow.
I'm in medical sales during the day, and I've had doctors ask me to do their private parties.
No, but
and stuff like
you
that.
have been doing actual
that's
stand-up. At this point, he's not out doing magic shows or anything. So I mean,
but he was good enough that they were like, "Hey,
that's
why don't you come
impressive.
and do it." Right.
Yeah, so now I got to go on. So now I'm calling that uncle in Monterey who I don't know, but my cousins are saying, "You better call Frank."
Yeah.
Frank, I'm in trouble. They want me to do this, for them as a show, not just. So I fly out to Monterey, and it was amazing connection. And, God rest his soul, is just an amazing human. And he took me in and taught me everything. Wow. And so now I'm in, just like tonight, it's gone full circle. I'm in a basement doing magic tricks for little kids. And they're,
wow.
I get you.
Right.
and I'm actually shaking. I'm so nervous, and I'm doing it. The kids are going, he's shaking.
Oh, they're calling you out.
So the act evolves, and what I'm attracted to is comedy magicians. I was fortunate again to be able to join 2 magic clubs in Boston, and I got to see the comedians, the really funny magicians, and their setups, and it was great because of the audience participation. So before I even hit comedy, I was comfortable reaching out to the audience and working the crowd. Anyway, so I developed the crowd. At a show one night, a guy who made my artificial legs. We'll get into that later. I got one sitting in the corner. He had just got a beautiful camera, and he came to the show, and he caught the sublime moment, the supreme moment. I got a guy up on the stage. I used to actually make a cupcake. It looked like I made a cupcake in a guy's pocket. I would break an egg. I'd put flour in it. I'd put milk. And then I'd throw a lighted handkerchief in his pocket and come out with this cupcake. Well, the guy was loaded. All right. He looked like a character on Owen Martin's. It was a show back then.
Laughing?
Yeah.
Rowan and Martin.
And he looked like a character. He had, anyway, He was hysterical.
Yep.
I put these glasses with the bouncy eyes.
Yep.
He's
Yep.
playing in the glasses, and he's doing all these motions, and I'm the whole time trying to pull him in.
Yep.
More, it's this contrast of me trying to work him straight and him going crazier. The more hysterical the thing is. It was a classic. Anyway, I take that video cassette and I drop it in the mail to Showtime, and I forget about it. Well, for a year, Showtime decides not to just look at the videos, but to come to Boston at the height of Boston comedy.
Yep.
Stephen Wright, and of course Lenny and Steve Sweeney, and
Yep.
Paula Poundstone, you name it. Okay,
Yeah.
Dennis Leary, on and on. All of the greats we know. They come
Yep.
to Boston for a year, traveling to every single comedy club, Comedy Connection, Nick's. There were dozens of them.
Yep.
And so I figured that's that. I know those guys. I see them. Those guys are funny.
Right.
Then it was announced they were going to have a national runoff in New York. And so I said, well, I get a call from my wife one day. I check in. Remember before voicemail and cell phones?
Oh, yeah.
Call somebody. And my wife says to me, Showtime Cable just called. I'm like, yeah, right. She goes, no. She says, Showtime Cable, they're looking for you. So I'm going, okay, they want one of two things. They want me to come. Maybe they want me to come to New York, which I'm not doing because I know I'm not going to stand a chance.
Right.
Second of all, they're looking for an address to send the cassette
tape back.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that.
Right.
Yeah. What's your return address so we can send your tape back? Crazy. Oh, that would be the worst.
So I call, and sure enough, somebody says Showtime Cable. So I figure, okay, the number's legit.
Yeah.
Nobody's pranking me.
Right.
I had a reputation at the time for being a pretty good pranker.
Yeah.
And so they put me on hold. So hold on. And a gal picks up, Tom Hayes. And I'm standing in a hospital lobby listening to this. Tom Hayes? And I'm like, yeah. The Tom Hayes. Yeah. You submitted us. Yeah. Congratulations. You just won funniest person in Massachusetts.
Holy shit.
Right?
Wow.
I mean, come on. This is falling out of the sky now, right? And at the time, I had taken a course with Paul Barclay and Billy Downs.
Yep.
And I did a couple of times at their clubs, but what I was determined at the time, I'm making $300-400. This is 30 years ago to do Mason's Hall, to do an American Legion.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm looking at all these comedians doing open mics and not getting the pay. And I'm looking at the cash register going ching ching ching.
Right.
And them charging $20, and I'm going, I'm not doing this. I'm
Right.
not going paying. I'm already there. So they said, "Oh, congratulations!" And I'm like, I said, "I think you guys ran all over the state for like a year." Yeah. And they go, "No,
did you not see so and so and so and so?" Right.
He's trying to talk them out of it.
Yeah, right.
What about Stephen Wright? What about
the guy that's been on Carson and
have you seen Lenny Clark?
Yeah.
Have you seen Stephen Wright?
I'm not the guy. That's wrong. I'm not him.
Yeah.
And they go, no. We already sent out a press release. And I'm like,
wow.
Oh, no, I don't need this.
Which I'm sure gave you all kinds of support from the Boston comedy community.
Oh yeah.
Who the fuck is this?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Nobody knew me. The only ones who knew me were Paul Barclay and Billy Downs.
Billy.
Right.
Class. So
now when you say you took a class, was it with Paul and Billy teaching, or was it the one that they took with Sean Morey way back in the day?
They brought in, it was a great class.
Yeah.
They'd bring in Steve Sweeney.
Oh, all right.
Teddy Bergeron.
Yeah.
So they brought in the comics to give.
Right.
It was, when you go back in time and you think of what happened in Boston and what it generated.
Oh,
there's no other way of explaining that it was magical.
Yeah.
How did this happen? Where were all these guys before?
Right. Well, what we ended up finding out just from talking to some of them is some of them were teachers and social
Yes,
workers, and
yes.
Tony V was a social worker,
Right.
and
Yeah.
Steve Sweeney was a teacher, or was it Don Gavin that was a teacher? I think it was Don.
Gavin.
Don Gavin taught at CM, and
Right.
and you're right, but they were already they already had
Right.
sets. Like
Right.
Stephen Wright went to Bill Ricker High School, and Stephen Wright is writing jokes during the day.
During class, right.
So when they hit the stage, they were already hot. Lenny was ran for mayor of Cambridge. Lenny just had personality. So it was monstrous what happened. And then it drew everybody from Cleveland.
Everywhere.
Came, and what I found amazing about it is it came to us, just like it came to Providence.
Yeah.
It came to you guys. So sure enough, it hits the papers. I'm on TV, and I'm like, what do I do now?
Wow.
And then Billy calls me up and goes, Tommy, we got the press release. You won. And so Billy was on it. And he goes, did you know somebody? I'm going, Billy, I don't know what this is about. Well,
right.
You got so much press. Would like you to come down and work. And he goes, and we'll pay you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like,
wow.
Now you're talking my language.
So you got to skip the open mic.
I got to go right
period and went right to working. Wow.
I had the stage experience. I had funny comedy magic. Of course, then that's all they needed. All the Boston comics needed to see was a few props and magic.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this is no good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was easily hated right from the shot,
Wow.
But again, Lenny being Lenny, and Lenny being one of the greatest humans on the planet.
Absolutely.
He took me in and loved it. But anyway, so the next thing I know, I'm funny. In fact, I said to some guy that one night, I forget his name now, we work in a club in Worcester, and I goes, I don't get it. They all hate me. He goes, yeah. He goes, because you're funny.
Right. Yeah.
He says, if you sucked, nobody would care what you did.
Well, you know who else said that when because you brought up Cleveland, is Frank Santarelli.
Yes.
When he moved to town, he said they hated him because all of a sudden he was getting gigs, and they're like, where did this guy come from?
Yep.
He said they even, I believe they said, Frank Santarelli scoffs at jokes. He doesn't write jokes. He scoffs at punchlines.
Well, in Seinfeld's documentary, comedian Orny Adams said, everybody is nice and supportive until you get funny, and then they all hate you.
Yeah,
exactly.
As soon as you're funny, they all hate you, and they don't want to talk to you anymore because people feel threatened at that point.
Right.
Like you're going to take all their work away, which
and
is
especially
not,
at that time, there's no way one person could take away all the work.
There was so much work.
Every place had like 60 rooms all throughout New England. You know,
it was. I worked every single night for a long time. You know, if you needed a show, you just say, "Ain't got anything?" Yeah, sure. Glad you called.
Wednesday to Sunday, there was a show every night. Because when I started in 1989, I mean, I've shown Scott my book from like probably 1990, and you open it up and it's like spot on Wednesday, $25, spot on Thursday, 25, spot on Friday, 50, double up. It's like
that looks like my book now.
Yeah. Oh, the
spot on Thursday, $25. Spot on Friday, $50.
Welcome to post-COVID, where everyone knows they can pay you less.
Well, not to rub it in, you could work on Warrenton Street, which Nick's was at one end and Comedy Connection was at the other.
Right.
And I could go back and forth. There would be 3 to 4 shows at least at Nick's.
At each place. Right.
And go back. And by the end of the night, you've done 6 shows and you don't know what you said when you said it.
Who said that? Someone said that Stephen Wright got up on stage one time and even said, I honestly don't remember if I told that joke to you guys or someone else.
I think that was Mike McDonald.
But Mike McDonald told us. Yeah.
And it was true. And you'd come home with $1,000 cash.
Right.
One night.
That's crazy.
And so it was but that was it. If it wasn't for that moment, crazy decision to throw this thing to the wind. And by the way, that was the year that Ellen DeGeneres won for Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
and Ellen DeGeneres won the national.
Oh, she won the nationals.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember the tape. She was at a piano and this and that. And,
Yep.
you know, like me, wasn't the funniest at the time. And, well, you know,
But was charismatic enough to win the audience over.
How has she done since then?
I think she's doing all right. I heard
She's doing okay.
I don't know,
Oh,
just a
you
guess.
know, I saw a documentary on her recently, and they talked about, she was on Letterman. You know the thing Letterman does now?
Oh, on
Oh, yeah,
Netflix's
yeah.
talk show. That
Yeah. And
the
so
interview show. Yeah.
Yeah. And when she came out, talk about how times, talking about 180 turn, right? She came out and immediately was cut from her television show and disappeared. Everybody was angry with her.
Right.
Yep.
They were disappointed. They were heartbroken. Sweet little Ellen doesn't have a boyfriend. So she said for a year, she nearly starved. She had zero work. Everybody shut her off.
Yeah.
And guess what came along to save her? Finding Nemo.
Wow.
All of a sudden, she went to an astrologer. It's an amazing story. She went to an astrologer. And of course, Letterman's like, you did what? To an astrologer?
Right.
And she's looking and go, Dave, she was good.
Yeah.
And she says,
It worked.
I still go to her. And
Wow.
she told me within a year, my whole career would come back. And then she says, I got a call from somebody.
Finding Nemo.
Somebody, the guy who wrote Pixar, who came from Rockport, Massachusetts,
Yep.
called her up and said, we need your voice. And so he said, so she says, so then you were back in the game? She goes, not really. She says, they paid me $35,000 for that gig.
Wow. And that movie went on to make millions. That was one of the most one of the most successful Pixar movies ever.
Yeah.
You know?
And now, of course, when they asked her to do the second show,
then you renegotiate your contract. Yeah. So let me back up though, because I wanted to ask you. So one of the things we ask guests, and it seems like, you skipped over the whole open mic and stuff like that. So, typically people will go to an open mic or a contest and they do really, really well. And then they do really well because they've got a lot of family and friends in the audience because it's a bringer show. And then they get to a real show like a couple of months later. Did you ever have any of those shows where all of a sudden you're like, you bomb?
Yeah, a little bit. But again, I was novel enough. I was doing some pretty outrageous things.
Yeah.
I was up there with this little table and I'm pulling live doves out of the whip,
Yeah. Yeah.
And people are like, oh my God, and I'm
right.
I used to do a bit about one of the birds. I said, I want you to, and this was right when the Celtics were in the race. I goes, I'd like you to mean, this is Larry Bird, stupid.
Yeah.
Joke.
Yeah. Right.
And so I'd play with that. And so I had enough that was just mind blowing.
Yeah.
That, and again, little personality. They liked me. The comedians hated me, but you're right. There were certain nights when
it just didn't work.
Well,
and you're standing there and you're like, why did this work yesterday and it's not working now?
I had one nemesis and it was Stitches on.
Yep. I remember the old Stitches.
Yeah.
Down by BU or BC.
Yeah, Huntington Ave. And right by you. I was headlining at the Comedy Connection at Nick's, and I'd go to Stitches and just couldn't get it.
Totally different crowds.
Yeah. And then they moved the club. And I still couldn't get it. It was like right now the Bruins have got this thing going with the New Jersey Devils. And I can't beat them.
Yeah,
that's the way I was with Stitches. And then one night they were running a contest for a spot on the Tonight Show, and I went down, crushed, and then I moved on. I crushed again. I couldn't believe it, and I was in the running. I was like, I was going to do it. So I got in front one night. And I'm so cocky because I got this room. I got it nailed.
Right.
I got up. I did not get one. One. And that feeling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything dries up.
Yeah. Everything. Every drop of moisture just goes, we're out of here.
Gone.
Right.
Have fun with the cotton in your mouth. you know?
Yeah, right.
Oh,
So
that's the worst feeling.
I reach for a trick. I used to make a cigarette disappear. I used to take with bare hands, at least
Yeah.
like that. And I go and pull the gun. And I said, okay, well, here, let me try some magic with you guys. The guys are tough. And I do this, total silence. And one guy goes, why don't you disappear?
Oh.
And the worst part, I had been booked for almost a year or two by, I forget the name of the Barry Katz. We all know.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Barry
Yep.
Katz and Ina,
Nina. Yep. Boston comedy.
Boston comedy.
Yep.
They're in the audience. They have never seen my show.
Oh,
And I'm going down in flames.
flames.
Wow.
And, so, but there's a funny side story to this. So my girlfriend's in the audience, and she's been in the mood. She's been bugging me. It was I had to do 2 sets, and right after the first set, I had a great set. The first set, she's going, "Let's come on." She was a gum chewer. She went, "Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go." And I'm like, "I can't. I got another set." So she watches me totally bomb. She was a smoker. She's just going.
So where we going for
Dying.
breakfast? Because I'm no longer in the mood.
I don't think this is going to work out.
Exactly.
She's just watching the boyfriend crash and burn. And so I go up to the table. I never felt worse in my life. And I got my bag of tricks and everything. And she goes, "Can we go now?" So, is that the best you can do? I said,
Yeah.
I just tanked.
Right.
These people suck. Let's go. So
At least she didn't blame you.
yeah, I apologize to Barry. I apologize to Nina. I get to the car. I'm just crestfallen. I put my bag in the back, and I'm standing. I get in the car. I got my keys, and I'm just looking like this. And she's over there going, "Oh, terrific! Now I guess you're not going to screw me, are you?"
Oh.
Now I'm going to have to pay for your bad show.
Oh.
One of the best lessons ever. I looked at the keys. I looked at her, and I said, "They are now a distant memory."
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
And ever
Wow.
since that moment, I said, "Yeah, why let them screw up my night? It's just one of those things that happens."
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, but we've talked to so many comics over the past, 4 years. That's what separates true comics from people who just try it.
Yes.
Because even after that really bad show, you still have to get back on stage because you're like, I know I can do better. I know I could do better.
And what you learn from that is, see, I was getting complacent because I was on a roll. I was everything
Right.
I did. I had
false confidence.
batting 1,000.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden you're knocked on your ass, and I went to work.
Yeah.
I was going to make sure that was never going to happen again.
And I forgot who it was that told us that. I think it was even Mike Donovan that said that there are comedy gods that you will get to a point where you're kind of get robotic because you're doing so well. You're just in cruise control, and then they will hand you that crowd that makes you fall on your face and make you realize that you can't mail it in. You still got to deliver every time you're on stage.
You still have to work.
They remind you of that every once in a while just to keep you on your toes.
Just like, hey, look at the Patriots. Someone had a perfect season, right?
Yeah.
Right. They got slammed in the Super Bowl. And
exactly.
And what did they learn from that? They learned that it's not so bad to lose a couple of times before.
Right. Take some Well, it takes some pressure off too.
Exactly.
Like, you don't always have to be 100%.
Well, they learn that Super Bowl trophy feels a lot nicer than just having a perfect season.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So that's for sure.
So you kind of alluded to it earlier. So let's talk a little bit about your health. And
I was going to ask about that because you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast he had to overcome adversity. So
not only overcoming it, but really kind of incorporating part of it in your act too. So what happened with your health? When did it happen? How long were you doing comedy?
Can we do this another time?
You've already paid for the session, so we're going to get through this together.
Yeah.
You've paid for the hour, Tom, so we're going to get through this.
so at the age of, first of all, we live in very turbulent times, and everybody's got strong opinions now. I don't think we could be more polarized than we are. If you weren't before, you've all of a sudden found yourself, you thought you were in the middle, all of a sudden you find yourself one way or the other.
Right. Absolutely.
And I mention that because of my experience. I mean, I grew up in the inner city in Boston, the worst section possible. I grew up in Roxbury, where it was reverse discrimination. Because I had white skin, I had to run my ass off. All right.
Right.
And so it was a miracle sometimes to make it to the grocery store and back with the groceries and the change. Yeah. So there was this constant fear. And went to broker's school. So there was violence on the streets. There was violence in the school. And it was really tough. I mean, it was just constant vigilance. So about the age of 13, I was very fast as a runner because I had reason. There were people chasing me.
Right. Yeah.
So I was very fast, and I started getting pains in my knee, and I kept complaining to my parents, and they kept saying, it's growing pains, you're 13.
Everything that you think it is, right.
And they ignored it. Well, like, finally bring me to the doctors, and I remember them looking at the x-rays, and there was a big white spot just at the knee that was starting to climb up my femur, and they said they came back and said it was osteosarcoma. Now, they said tumor. That's all I heard. I didn't hear cancer.
Yeah.
And so I figured this is something that, modern science, it's no big deal, whatever. But next thing I know, I'm in the hospital, and I'm in there for like a month. And one day a doctor walks in and says, "We're taking your leg off." And I think he's kidding. And I find out he's not. And so obviously pretty traumatic. But
yeah,
I just told this story to a bunch of fifth graders the other day, inner city school. And it's my favorite story because I went down a list. I always ask the kids, what would you say to this guy? Well, if the doctor comes in and says, you got to remove your leg, what would you say to him? And they get it. They say right away, they say, well, if you don't, how long could I live? That was my first response.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
If you don't take it off, how many years have I got? And it's funny. I asked the kids, I picked an age. What age would you pick that you could live to and keep your leg? And the kids go, 40. I goes, perfect. I said, exactly what I said. Why?
Really?
And the kids go, because you're old.
That seems old at that age.
Yeah. It's not when you're 74, though.
And I got 34 more years out of the deal. So, yeah, I would have been pissed. But there was also another reason. I said, and I says, they are old. That's what you think. I said, but I said, what else? I said, and I help them along. I says, are they happy? They go, no, they're not happy. They're talking about their parents. And I go, why? Because they got to work. And I said, right. What else? They go, because they got bills. Right. And then I tell them, yeah. And the third reason is they got you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so I said, now pick another age. And they go, 30. And I said, you're right. That's the second age. Could you? He said, no, you can't make it to 40. I said 30, because I'm figuring at 30, people are still having fun.
Right.
And he goes, no, not even 30. And I go, 20? No. And now I'm down to 2 years. I'm going, how about 2? I'm trying to bargain for stupid me. Give me 2 years. And he says, no. So then I started asking him a lot of questions. I said, will I be able to run? Because that was one of my passions. He's no, because I want to take my leg off at the hip. And
wow.
Yeah. It was, well, the thing is, this disease, even today, in those days, this was before chemo, if 100 kids got it, okay, 95 died. All right.
Wow.
One of the lucky five. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So I said to him, next thing I'll be able to walk. Yeah, we'll get you an artificial leg. And I said, how about, can I ride a bike? I had just received a new bike. I think it was a dirty trick my parents pulled on me to give me a new bike before I go in to get my leg.
Right. Amputated.
Had one pedal on it.
Yeah, right.
And he says to me, impossible. Here's a Harvard-trained surgeon, 55 years old or so, Mass General. People are flying in from all over the world to get operated on by this guy. And he tells a 13-year-old kid, impossible.
Right.
Oh. And so I go out and, I'm back on the street with the kids, and I'm recuperating, and my brother is driving my brand new bicycle. So so the desire was there. And this is, again, for young comics, anybody out there, in order to succeed, there's a burning desire in you. And a lot of times we don't know where it comes from. We don't know why we're comics, really.
Right.
That seed was planted, and so I wanted, every time he got off it, I would jump on it. And at that time, parents were home. Women, mothers were home.
Right.
And all the kids would want to get their mother. And I guess this was my first introduction to drama. They would pull me off, and I acted it up. I want to ride the bicycle. But at the meantime, my head is going, thank God you showed up, because I don't have to try this. Because they told me if I fell this way, which is without my leg, I would possibly hit my head and die. They told me you could die. If you don't do that right, you're going to die. And first of all, nobody had ever done it. This is back in 1960. Okay. Wow. They had never seen, nobody had ever seen an amputee riding a bicycle.
Yeah.
So they kept taking me up, blah, blah, blah. So one day I got on it and nobody came. And I loved the drama, because I said to the kids, why did I like the drama? Because I got all this attention.
Attention, right.
And I didn't have to try it. You see, I blamed them. They
wanted to see it.
They wouldn't let me do it.
Oh, they wouldn't let me.
They wouldn't let me. So I could get off. Big man, I spooked all of you.
I wanted to, yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, oh, thank God they come. So one day I get on. It was a late day in August. Everybody's getting ready to go back to school. I get on the bike and I'm all alone. Everybody runs, but nobody comes. And it's a long time. It's usually they're there in seconds. Somebody's mother's dragging me off this thing, and I'm sitting there like, folks, let's get the show on here. This is no fun. I'm here. And then the little voice comes in and goes, ride the bike. And I'm like, hello. And it goes, ride the bike, kick off. I kick off. I don't fall. I got balance. It was a 3-speed, so I was able to pull the pedal up backwards.
Yep.
Reach down, I pull it up, and I push, and I'm off. And I get up and I push again, and I'm off again. And I'm going, oh my God, I'm doing this.
Doing it, right.
It's like a scene out of Forrest Gump. All the mothers come down.
Yeah, when he's running.
And they're running after me. Get off the bike, you'll kill yourself. And I'm free. I'm like a bird,
Right.
I'm doing the impossible, and I'm now able to get on this bike with all the other kids and go party with the kids.
Right.
And everybody knew that day, including myself, they had seen a miracle. And so doctors started taking me into hospitals. They were using Super 8 film to take pictures of this. I shocked them.
Yeah.
And they were sending it to teaching colleges, medical schools all over the country. And so it was my first time of understanding, which is essential for any comic or anybody in life, that you don't quit.
Right.
That's an awesome story, man.
Wow.
Yeah,
what an unbelievable story.
And what I tell the kids, I says, if somebody tells you that something is impossible, they're lying. They are lying to you. I says, because they don't know what you're capable of.
Right. Only you know.
That doctor didn't know that I was going to keep trying.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know the desire I had. He didn't know the commitment that I was going to keep trying, and sooner or later get it. Some way I was going to figure this out. So I said, so to learn that at 13.
Wow.
To learn that at 13, if somebody says it's possible, you're like, yeah, watch. And
yeah, right.
You're right. Absolutely. With comedy, with magic, with all of it, there were times when you're like, oh my God, you just get beat up so bad.
Right.
Yeah, but you learned at 13 to overcome that obstacle.
Right.
That, some of these other obstacles later on in life must seem like.
Well, what I learned is, see, at 13, I had, in order to be successful, you got to have, more important than goals, but goals are essential. You have to have a mission. You have to have a reason why. Like with comedy, we don't know really why we're doing this, but we're blessed, we're anointed, and cursed at the same time. We have to do this.
Right.
So here's this, I get this thing that and so to get immediately I was in a setback position. All right. I'm no longer a normal kid able to run faster than the other kids. I can't play ball. I can't do these things. I'm disabled.
Right.
Right.
Which I absorbed very well because I started to own the fact that I was different.
Yep.
See, I said, wait a minute, I'm special. I didn't look at it totally as I'm disabled. I looked at it, I'm special.
Right.
Because I'm no longer like the other kids. I have to do things differently.
Right.
And so I learned in order to get back, I had to learn to set goals. I had to learn to take a setback. So those are the things that you do. You know, when I talk a lot of times, you're right, I did a lot of corporate speaking and I talked to cancer groups and cancer survivor groups. And I got to the point where I really didn't enjoy it because there was a lot of victimization. A lot of poor me, we survived. And I started to tell them, I said, first of all, I'm thrilled to be here, but I have to tell you, I do not like the word cancer survivor. I says, because it is one step above being a victim.
Right. Yeah. It's not like, it doesn't make it, that term doesn't make it sound like you did anything to overcome it. It just so happened that you made it through. You were a victim that made it through.
And these people are celebrating this for 25 years. I made it. And I'm like, well, the best thing they did for me, one of the best things, they took me down to Boston, to the Boston YWCA. There was a gal there who was teaching disabled kids how to swim. I didn't know how to swim. I had been in the water all my life, but usually jumping waves or something else or playing.
Right.
Within a couple of weeks, I'm now swimming. I'm doing something. So I went from being a survivor to a player.
Right. Yeah.
I'm swimmer.
You more than compensated for what?
Well, you weren't just surviving.
Right.
Right. So now I'm a player. But now, you see, because I was athletic and competitive, when we swam, I started beating the other kids. I got at least 3 limbs and I'm strong and fast. So now I go from being a player to a winner, you see. And I'm beating quote unquote normal kids. So then it got very interesting. I started to win a lot. In fact, I'd enter races and I started to become, I started to move from being a winner to a champion. I also learned how to ski, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow.
Well, I said, so now I'm in a different mindset than survivor, aren't I? I'm certainly not a victim. Yeah. I'm not a survivor. I am now a player, a competitor, champion. And I said, if you look back and if you're champion long enough, what happens? What's the next step? Well, the next step is you're a coach, aren't you? This is where we know this. Brady will be a coach, will he not?
Now you're just showing off, Tom.
Yeah.
Now you're just showing off.
No, but that's great because
that's awesome.
To your point, you didn't just survive. You didn't just get through. You took that and then went even further with it.
Right. You kept building on it.
Yeah. And then I say, once you become a coach, then the next step is you become a mentor.
Right.
You start writing articles. You start, the coaches come to you. And the coaches want to know, how do you get to your stage? And I said, the last part is the big jump is to become a healer. And what do we do with comedy? What is the greatest feeling? How many times have you been hugged and said, oh my God, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for tonight.
You made my night.
Yeah.
And so there's this big journey from victim to survivor to healer. Yep. And you can probably understand why I'm a little upset with the Times, which seems to be, oh, they can't. This is what I hear all the time is, we can't. And it's this acceptance, it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Because I'm here preaching empowerment. Like when I speak to this inner city school last Friday, I'm there for one reason, to say you can do this.
You could do anything you want, but it's going to take work. It doesn't just come to you.
Right. But if you settle into, I can't, or the odds are too great, or the system is stacked against me, you've lost.
Right.
You've lost. And so anyway, it's, and if I didn't have the comedy, if you think of the steps, I got really good on stage. So when it came time to speak, I had all these tools. I could make
you had the skills already.
I could tell the stories.
Right.
And so
Well, and that's what
I think comedians make very, very good public speakers.
yeah, because
we-
we're storytellers already.
And we've spoken to Judy Carter and Darren LaCroix, both very successful public speakers.
love Judy Carter. Oh my God.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And they teach, not only are successful public speakers, but they teach it. And both of them have their base. They started in stand-up and became these very successful public speakers.
Yep.
I think stand-up helps you, again,
Yeah.
to kind of come full circle with disarming a crowd, winning a crowd over, and helps you with that public speaking aspect. Like you did with Toastmasters.
Right. Dealing with adversity, you know how to come out of that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because you've talked a lot about overcoming adversity and stuff like that. But what are some wow moments in your career? Like the times where you're like, wow, I can't believe I'm playing this, or I can't believe I'm in front of this audience, or I can't believe I'm working with this person.
Right.
Right.
Again, destiny, you start to, I think it's very easy. And I think a lot of comics, one of the problems is they get very egotistical.
Mm-hmm.
And they think it's, they're geniuses because they can land a good joke or slay an audience. And, that's when the setup, that's what I think you said, Donovan said, that's when you get the big slap in the face and you get knocked on your ass. And so you start to understand, wait a minute, maybe I'm really not driving the bus here. Maybe there's some intangible that is guiding me through life. So in answer to that, so Dominic Ventry, who booked Nick's, really liked my act, and especially because I worked clean, and especially because I had a novelty.
Right.
So all of a sudden, he says, Tommy, Henny Youngman's coming to town, and I want you to open for him.
Wow.
So imagine Henny Youngman, take my wife, please.
Right.
Oh my God, that's a legend. Absolute legend.
This is Yoda. This is when I met.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yoda. He would just stand up and go boom, 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 boom. And there was more than the delivery and the things. It was his aura, his personality, his confidence.
Yep.
And so I worked with him for 3 weekends, every Friday and Saturday, 2 or 3 shows a piece. And I'm driving him around. I'm his chauffeur. I pick him up at the hotel. We're driving.
Getting to know him. Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't believe how does this happen?
Wow.
I didn't ask for this.
Yeah.
But he's right beside me, and he told me all kinds of stories, one of which I think comedians will love and will dear to our heart. He goes, don't let anybody ever take this from you. They will try. He's talking about relationships.
Yeah.
They're going to want you to stop. She says, because this is competitive. This steals from them, and they're jealous of it. But don't let anybody take this from you. And then one night, the last night I was with him, he goes, so tell me, kid, he goes, how'd you lose your leg? So I go through kind of what I did with you. I says, Henny, I learned to ride a bike. I learned to swim. I ski, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I know, kid, because you got guts. And I said, oh, thank you. He goes, you know how I know you got guts? I said, no. He says, because I've seen your act. So, and he says to me, I use that on Burl all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
So not long after that, Dominic says, Phyllis Diller decides to come out of retirement. She had been in retirement for years. I mean, she was the first female stand-up comedian ever. Okay.
Right.
And she was everywhere, at every variety show, concerts, movies. She was on top of the world.
Yeah.
They went up to Nick's. That's where they brought her in. The parking lot at the Kowloon looked like Vegas. Stretch limousines all the way Route 1, all throughout the parking lot. People in tuxedos, people dressed up like they were going to Vegas. Phyllis is coming to town. And boom, it came. And you've played Nick's, right?
Yeah.
At the Kowloon?
The upstairs room.
Yeah. Yep. And when they pull back the dividers, how big that room is?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Huge. That's what they did. They had to be 500 people.
Yeah, it was like a Vegas showroom, like a Vegas ballroom, right?
And I'm opening for Phyllis Diller.
Wow.
And I'm nervous as hell, blah, blah, blah. I did well. So the second week was out at a place in Framingham called the Chateau. Same deal.
I remember that.
Oh yeah.
Right, same deal. The gowns, the tuxedos, the whole thing. So for 3 weekends, I worked with her, but couldn't get close to her. She had her road manager, etc.
Yeah.
So there was a guy that used to do Simon Says, and he was really good at it, and he made a living at it. And he'd do it at corporate parties, whatever.
Yeah.
And he comes up to me. I had run into him a few times at shows, and he says, "Hey, Tom, I got these albums from that Phyllis did." He says, "Could you get them autographed for me?" I said, "I don't know. I haven't been able to get close to her, but I'll try."
Right.
So I knock on the door. The road manager comes out, cute gal. I says, "Hey, listen, somebody I know, I don't mean to impose, but this guy asked me if I could get these signed for an autograph." She says, "I'll see." And she gets it on, and I go, standing like,
Yeah, right.
She comes up and she goes, "Miss Diller, we'll see you now."
You're like, I
Jeez.
just wanted them signed. I didn't think I'd get an audience. Right.
Now, this is a great story because it shows the magic of today. This is kind of, again, one of my pet peeves is people are so involved with cuckoo stuff here. We've forgotten that this is the miracle age of all miracles. We are virtually in television studios in our own homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at what we're doing now, right?
We can broadcast to the world. There's nobody saying to us no.
Right.
Right? So our message, these stories can be broadcast.
Yeah.
Right.
The magic age of all magic age. So Miss Diller will see me now. So I walk in and I'm like,
Wow.
and I said to her, she goes, "Oh, I'm very pleased to meet you. I've heard you. You're doing a great job. Thank you." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I said, "Phyllis," I said, you don't know what this means to me." I said, "I used to watch you. I was like 5 or 6 years old, sitting in this little house in Roxbury, in this little apartment and you're on black and white television."
Yeah.
And my parents, my Italian mother and grandmother, they'd run to see you. And they'd stay in the house here, and they'd be cutting up veal, and they're standing with pieces of veal in their hand, and they're laughing and laughing. I says, at the time, I thought, I am never going to go to the cities that you were performing in. I said,
Right.
that was an impossibility to me to go to New York or to go to LA, and I'm watching you. Never mind.
Yeah.
And I said, I'd never see you live. Never mind. I'd be working with you.
And standing in front of you, getting to talk to you.
This is an impossibility from that point in time at 5 years old, watching her on movies and everything, and I'm working with her.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're talking as pros. This is all just being swept away. And she said, well, she says, "Isn't that great?" And she says, and we started talking about positive,
Yeah.
negative. And she said, "Yeah, I don't know why there's so much negativity. There's so much to celebrate." So she said to me, I knew something about her life because when I was teaching sales, I used to talk about the fact that she used to take her picture, put it on a refrigerator, and then surround it with Milton Berle, with Jack Benny, with Johnny Carson, with Bob Hope, all these great comedians. And she, every day, she would see herself
with them.
And she says, "I was the first female. I vowed." She says, "I was 37 years old. I had 5 kids. I was writing copy for an advertising company. And I decided, I don't know why," she says, "but I wanted to be the first female stand-up comedian ever." She says, Toady Fields told jokes, but she sang. She didn't do straight stand-up.
Right.
So I got this book called The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. And I read that book every single day for 2 years. I read sections. And that was one of the tricks, was to see myself in that company. And she says, and in 2 years' time, I became that woman.
Wow.
And so she says to me, this is the best part. This shows you, this shows the genius of the geniuses. She says, "I'll send you the book." And I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, of course you will. Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
2 weeks later, a brown envelope comes to the house. Open it up. It's the book. And it's autographed. "Tom, working with you. I know you'll love this book. Love, Phyllis."
Holy
Wow.
shit.
Okay, and an 8x10 glossy headshot, right?
Headshot sign.
Okay, I mean, how's this?
Wow.
Come on, really, guys, how's this happen? You know, this isn't planned. We don't sit
Yeah.
down and plan. Someday I'm going to work with Phyllis Diller.
No.
You know, and so,
Wow.
but so now I got to work with Pat Cooper, who was the great Italian comedian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Know Pat very
Yeah.
well.
The company Fuji, there's a big convention in Chicago every year called the Radiology Society of North America. And they hired out Second City. They hired the whole place for one night.
Yep.
We had thousands of guests, whatever. And so they rent the place out. And so little to my knowledge, because I was doing stand-up, the gal who was arranging it, the meeting planner, told them that I was going to do stand-up comedy there.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
Who needs this freaking pressure, right?
Yeah.
You know, so she comes up to me and it's all set. I'm going to follow them. I've got to
Oh
follow
my God.
Second City. Now these guys are ready to go from Second City to Saturday Night Live.
Saturday Night Live. Yeah, you're talking like Chevy Chase and, and Jane Curtin and Dan Aykroyd,
Eugene
and all of that.
Levy, John
Yeah,
Candy,
right.
you
Holy
know,
shit.
bunch of
And I'm like,
nobodies.
oh my God, what am I doing here? And during the first half of the show, it had been raining for like 3 days in New York. Unlike it was usually snowing. And they had tile ceilings, and one of the tiles broke loose and dumped all this water on the radiologist and their beautifully attired wives in their meat coats and everything else. So I'm going, oh my God, now I got this to deal with. And so she comes up during intermission, goes, Shecky Green's in the audience.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Holy shit. Talk about royalty.
Okay, I'm going, I don't need this. I don't need you fucking with me. I don't.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I said, first of all, I am ready to bomb in front of
Everyone I work with. Yeah.
I says, I'll never be able to live this night down. It's not like I walk away from this. They will remember this forever, as long as my career.
Right.
And I said, a whole bunch of water just jumped on these people. They're not in a good mood right now.
Right.
And you're messing with me. She goes, no, he's here. I goes, now he's my favorite comedian of all comedians because he was a comedian's comedian.
Right. Right.
Above, he was crazy. So she goes, come on, I'll introduce you.
Come on, I'll introduce you. Before you go down in flames, come meet the guy you look up to.
Exactly.
What had happened is he was with his entourage. He was like Frank. They always traveled with their pack, you know. And they went in a cab and said, what's hot in town? And of course, every cab was going to Second City. And so they said, something's going on over at Second City. So he walks in and she looks at him and says, are you Shecky Green? She was a pretty funny gal herself. He goes, yeah. He says, well, we have a private thing. He goes, oh, okay, I'll leave. She goes, no. You're Shecky
Come on
Green.
in. Yeah, right.
I says, oh, thank you for that.
Yeah, right. You couldn't have sent them home.
So I go over, I meet him, and I tell him about Phyllis Diller. Yeah. And he says, you know, and I'm trying small talk. What do you say to your idol? You know,
right.
There in flesh and blood. And I'm like, what are you doing, Shecky? You still? No, I retired. He says, you know, I'll be doing 2 or 3 shows a month, and my timing was off, so I figured I'd quit. And no. And I said, well, I just opened for Phyllis. He goes, she's back?
She's back, right.
And I goes, you opened for her? I goes, yeah. Well, how'd she do? So it was great. So he goes, well, he says, I'm anxious to see you. And I'm like, oh,
wow.
I don't need this pressure. So
talk about the pressure.
Yeah. So they give me the cast gives me the worst introduction you can imagine. You know,
of course.
Here's one of your own, Tom Hanks or whatever.
Yeah, right. Hey, here's a guy that works out of Schenectady, New York. He's one of your own. He dabbles in comedy. How about a hand for Tommy Hayes?
We got Tom from accounting coming up right now.
Right. And by the way, Shecky Green is at table 12.
and the entire rainstorm just dumped on the floor.
Yeah, right.
Yes. While you guys are drying off.
While you guys are mopping up your tables.
So I'm like this, and I'm thinking, what do I do? So I get on stage. I said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2nd annual Fuji Comedy and Annual Bath Night. And I point to the table with all these people.
Yep.
Look at them. And the big thing is you had to get people to come to the booth so you could try to sell them.
Right. Yeah.
And so I looked at the table and I goes, next time, come to the booth. And the place exploded. Just
Oh my God.
they launched, and I went, "Oh my God, I got him."
I got him. Yeah.
And I owned them for half an hour. And the best part
Wow.
was in the halfway through, I had them. I was so comfortable. I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're in for a special treat tonight because in the audience is one of my favorite comedians of all time. And I'm sure you know him because you've seen him on the Tonight Show hosting time and time. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a nice round of applause to Mr. Shecky Green." So Shecky stands up, takes the bow. The place goes crazy. Da, da, da. I get a standing ovation.
Wow.
Shecky comes. I go to Shecky and he goes, "That was a really good set." He goes,
Yeah.
So he says to me, "Can I ask you a question?" So he leaves his table and he pulls me over to a corner and he goes, "The supreme compliment of any time of all my years have come." He goes, "You open for Phyllis? That's true?" I goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Let me ask you a question." He says, "Could she follow you?"
Wow.
Oh, that is
That's
awesome.
awesome.
You know, and I went, "Oh yeah."
You were on cloud 9 at that point.
Oh, the night
Cloud 9. A guy you looked up to said that to you. That's it.
Wow.
That's it. Shecky Green. And he was serious. I see he had seen, he's seen a miraculous set. I mean, even I knew it was like
was
a
great
just
set,
the stars
right.
were aligned that night. It was
so.
Wow. So let me ask you this, because I want to touch on this piece too, because more recently did you start the toy company first and then the animation, or did it happen vice versa? Because I want to talk a little bit about that as well.
This is, again, you become more humble. At least I have. First of all, the fact that I'm still alive. I wake up every single day going, "Thank you." It's, it's 62 years later and I'm still here. Thank you. And I should have been. Yeah, I should have been gone then. And I just thank every single day. I go down my blessings and thank you. So anyway, I retire at 52.
Yeah.
I was extremely successful as a salesman and as a sales manager.
Yeah.
And, in spite of setbacks, in spite of a divorce and, a lot of setbacks, I made it. And in my dream, first of all, you got to understand, in my head, you see, with this appreciation for life and knowing that there's a ticking clock, that anytime this can come back.
Yeah.
Because it does.
Right.
Right. So I'm blessed with this. Stephen Jobs is one of the greatest philosophers of all time. Instead, not only being an entrepreneur, because he said, "My time in Sanford, when he gave his address, he said, a commencement address, a famous speech. He says, 'My time is limited. I am not wasting it living somebody else's life.'" And I live with that every single day. I'm going, I don't know when I'm going to get the bad news. We all are going to get the bad news someday.
Right. Right.
But it's ticking in my head the whole time. So I'm going, I'm retiring when I can.
Yep.
And I'm going to blow out my life. I'm going to kick every bucket list done. Which I did. So I'm determined to just coast. So it's not long after I do it, because I'm doing corporate speaking, everybody's telling me you need a book. So I start typing my biography out.
Yep.
And it was such a catharsis, because I got to relive all of those years. And here I am every day typing 2 or 3 hours a day, visiting people who are now dead. And, I go from crying my eyes out to laughing my ass off.
Right.
This great roller coaster thing called life. And the computer breaks one day and I go down, and in those days, if your computer broke down, you got on the yellow pages, you looked up computer repair. Some guy came to you, a retired guy from Raytheon, in a dirty coat and smoking a cigarette, and he's got a Dunkin' Donuts styrofoam coffee. You give him your computer and off he goes, and you're going, will I ever see that again?
Right.
Well, I get to my car and there's something out of the Matrix. There's a lamppost with a little flyer somebody put, those tear off things. It says computer repair. And I'm like, is this the Matrix?
Yeah, right. How do they know?
In walks this kid, about 21 years old, black leather jacket, handsome as can be. And you're going, this is the guy. This is the hacker. This is who we want to have. So long story short, he and I decided he was going to do my newsletter. Think of this, guys. In 2004, we were sending out paper newsletters.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'd mail out a newsletter every once in a while.
To get business. So I was going to get mailing lists, send this out to get business. And the gal I was dating at the time was a very, very funny gal. And we'd go back and forth over the phone, and some very funny lines would come out. And I says, hey, in this newsletter, we should do a little comic strip. We got to get an illustrator, and that'll be one of the signatures of this thing. So,
yeah.
So I record the story that we're going to illustrate. And he says to me before we do it, he says, before we do this, I want to show you something. So he takes me to a website called Foamy, which was simple animation, but good. It was flash animation with terrible jokes. As good as he was with animation, that's how horrible a joke writer he was. So I'm looking at it, I'm not impressed, except for the animation. I said to him, he had taught me about click rates. I said, what's the click rate on that thing? He goes, 1 million a day.
Wow.
This is before YouTube.
Right.
This is before YouTube. People are finding this on the internet.
And clicking on it, right.
So he says to me, I got a better one. He takes me to one called Roadrunner or something. They'll come to me. And 2 million on that a day. And I goes, this is more than a sitcom gets.
Right.
You know, you do that 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So I said, we're going into the animation business.
Yeah.
So long story short, in fact, Destiny comes in again. The gal who was his dispatcher had taken that day off. He in turn did a quick animation of the story. She comes back. She took the day off to quit. She was way too smart to be working as a dispatcher. She goes, what did you guys do over the weekend? He shows her the animation. She goes, that was my major in college. She goes, I know how to do this.
Wow.
Come on, really? She goes, I know all the characters. She goes upstairs, comes back in an hour. She's got all of the characters written, all of the sketches done. And she goes, and the name of it's going to be called Basket Case Farm. This is all
right. Yep.
Hearing, I'm done. I was going to go fishing, but now,
now I got to work.
Animation thing happening.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks, she says, I can't keep up with the animation and do the other job. She says, I got a buddy who's just graduating from Merrimack. We can get him. So I interview the guy. I get this is 2004. I get him right out of college to animate for me for $15,000 a year. All right. And I'm like, you got the gig. 3 weeks into it. Now, again, all the characters are vegetables. Yep. And we're doing the voices. We're in a house. We got this house rented and we're making videos and we're putting them out. Again, the hacker has figured out all these sites all over the world where he can plant these animations. We're
put it up on
10,000 views a day.
Wow.
He comes in one day. He was a heavy on the pot.
Yep.
Hey, dude, man, last night, man, I thought of a character, man. I thought of the Boston Baked Bean, man. And I'm like, excuse me? Yeah, man, like that would fit with our characters, man. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Boston's been Bean Town for 375 years, known as Bean Town, and nobody has thought.
No one's ever thought of that? Right.
I go right down to a patent lawyer, attorney, and boom, copyright them. I trademark them, and now we're using them in all these cartoons. Then it dawns on me, I got to bring this to Menino, the mayor.
Yep.
I got to tell him we got the mascot for the city. I don't even have the mascot. I tell him, do a Photoshop with an image of the bean.
Yep.
We send it to him. We don't hear for anything for 3 or 4 weeks, and I figure, and they're all yelling at me, why are you bothering him? I said, you always go to the top.
Yeah, right.
Boom, I got a phone call from, you better come to the office. We got an email from the mayor.
Wow.
They want the bean in the celebration of the 375th birthday parade for the city of Boston.
Wow.
Jeez.
Are you kidding me? I mean, this is like, and we don't even have the suit yet. So we're like,
now you got to make one, right?
Yeah. So long story short, Menino embraces the thing. We're in every parade. We're getting the glow. The city's going crazy over this concept.
Yep.
And now I said, we got to make money. We got to get something to sell. So I think of a toy.
Yep.
And it was funny because I had all young kids working for me. They went to a first Comic-Con that ever came to Boston, and there was a toy maker there. And I kept saying, get that guy. We're going to make a toy. I wanted to make a small, I should have had some here today.
Yeah.
Small collectible plastic toy. And they kept saying, "Oh, you won't return calls." So finally, I got the number. I called the guy. He goes, "Nobody ever called me." So anyway, now we're making toys, and now the toys explode. The kids go crazy. We're selling like locally in certain towns.
Yep.
There's pandemonium. These things are the rage, and we can't make them fast enough. And all of a sudden, we're like, "Oh my God, what have we created?" And we're going to Comic-Con conventions. It gets crazier. Kurt Schilling, who was, had his studio working on that game that he took the state of Rhode Island.
We don't. Yeah, we don't mention that in Rhode Island that much. Ixnay on the early studios.
Well, he was living in Medfield, where the toys were the rage.
Yep.
And I'm sitting across from Kurt Schilling. He goes, "Hi, I'm Kurt Schilling." I walked into his office. He goes, "Hi, I'm Kurt Schilling." I goes, "Yeah, I think I
know." Yeah, I know.
And he wants to buy the company for this ridiculous property. And he's telling me, "I can make this." There was a toy called Webkins at the time. He says, "I can."
Oh yeah.
Remember Webkins?
Oh
He said,
yeah.
"I can make this the next Webkins."
Yeah.
And he's ready to buy us for like ridiculous amounts of money. And then he pulls his shoulder out. So all of a sudden, $8 million a year is gone. Right?
Yeah, right. He doesn't have that expendable income any longer.
But all of these insane things getting in front. We finally ended up in front of Viacom.
Yep.
Sherry Redstone, Sumner Redstones.
Yeah.
Viacom, which owns Paramount, which owns Nickelodeon, which owns MTV, which owns Comedy Central, which owns la 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 la.
Yeah.
Yeah, they own everything.
Yeah. And she is courting us. This is just insane. It's like the Matrix. Crazy things keep. And she's courting becoming a partner in the company to put us on Nickelodeon.
Wow.
At the same time, we go to New York to raise money because I hired a CEO. He was had a friend who had a property from England. And he approached him. Well, I knew what happened as soon as we walked into this big boardroom. We're down on Madison Ave, in this big boardroom with all of these capital investment firms, big money. And what he's going to do is he's hired a guy to come in and nix it. And so he doesn't have to say to his friend, "It won't work."
No, right.
Well, the guy he brings in is a guy named Rick Sigelko. Rick Sigelko won 8 Emmys with Thomas the Train.
Oh, wow.
He brought Thomas the Train over from England.
Yep.
Hired Ringo
Starr, yeah.
And won 8 Emmys for that property. Wow. He comes in to shoot us down. Instead,
and he loves it.
He picks up the toys and goes, "I can make this bigger than Thomas."
Wow.
"Can I have a job?" I goes, "We don't have any money." He goes, "I don't care." So he says, "I'm going to make this bigger than Thomas." Thomas sold to Mattel about 3 years ago for $800 million.
Oh yeah,
oh
huge,
my God,
huge.
Okay. So he says, "We're going to the top." Well, we were doing that until 2008 came along, and there was another kick in the nuts, bringing me back. My head's going like this. We did it. We're over the finish line, and then, boom, the recession hits.
And it all goes.
Now this gets very interesting because basically I lost everything. I lost my retirement. I lost everything.
Wow.
But I know deep down that it happened for a reason. Just as we've been saying all night long, that set that knocks you back and says,
right.
Get to work again. So I knew there had to be more work. And now the problem is, if we had sold it at that time, we would have given up all rights, especially to content. We had no content. We were on the verge of creating content.
Yeah.
But all we had was a strong toy property, and a Bible and a theme and a concept. Well, Tammy Pooler, who's Tammy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Tammy is not only she's a genius. She's not only a great comedian, but she's an entrepreneur. At one time she owned about 6 retail shops. Wow. She's got 6 grandkids. She's the Renaissance woman. All right. Anything she touches, she's now doing photography and she's making tons of money at that. Anything she touches turns to gold. And so she had a used children's used store, and she started buying my toys. She called me up one day. She goes, Tom, there were kids wrestling on the floor. I've never seen in 20 years of owning this, kids fighting for these toys. Well, she dropped out of comedy for 3 or 4 years. We got back together, and she says, how are the toys going? I said, nah, it's done. I said,
yeah.
And here's where, now I started podcasting 6 years ago. All right. And at least, and I was just doing it like you guys. I was bringing comedians in. We're doing it. One day I put down the phone. I have no money. I'm done. I'm dead in the water. I have no way of taking this property and moving it forward. I can't do all the things I wanted to, write books, stories. And all of a sudden I put the phone down from the podcast, and I hear the little voice comes back and goes, stupid, do a kid's podcast. And I went, oh my God. All right. Now this is 6, 7 years ago. So I tell Tammy, because now she and I are working together. She's come back, and she is an amazing storyteller. And I started using my little camera to make videos of her and started putting them up on YouTube for her. Mm-hmm. So I said, Tammy, this weird thing happened. I said, I heard this voice tell me to. She goes, well, I don't understand. Who are the characters? What's the story? I said, well, it's kind of like retro 50s. The Bucky, he works in a garage, and she works in a soda shop. And now her husband's pumping gas because we're on the way to the gig. Mm-hmm. And she goes, well, you want to do one now? I goes, sure. I take out the phone. She said, what's the premise? I said, okay, let's say he's coming out of work. He's going to the soda shop, and he's coming to get his favorite ice cream. And you tell him it's running out because you're selling it. And the reason he told you was to keep it a secret so it would always be there. Okay, let's go. We put the phone on and we start, hey, Bucky, hey, Betty, I'm on my, oh, no, she answers the phone. This is Betty. I'm at the shop, and, oh, hey, Betty, this is Bucky. Oh, Bucky, you're coming over? Yeah, I'm coming on my way over. She goes, well, you better hurry because I'm selling your ice cream.
Yep.
And he's like, what do you mean you're selling my ice cream? I told you that as a secret not to sell my ice cream. Yeah, Bucky, but I know why you told me. And we're nonstop. This is
off the cuff.
I know you told me to do it, but now I know why, because it's selling like crazy. And I'm like, and immediately she's a genius. She goes, I'm getting all worked out. I told you because I trusted you. And she goes, Bucky, I'd like to keep talking to you, but there's somebody at the window. I gotta go sell. And now she leaves me talking to myself, and I'm going, I can't believe she's done this. And I keep rolling. She comes back. Oh, Bucky, Rocky wants to tell you, thank you. Rocky who? Rocky the rock star or Rocky the race car? Because Bucky's a race car driver. Rocky the race car driver. He goes, the race car driver. I said, why? She's like, he tells me that your ice cream's delicious. And I'm like, wait a minute. You sold my ice cream to my competitor? And she goes, yeah. So, I can't talk now, but there's somebody else at the window. And I'm freaking out. So this goes on for 8 minutes. And the husband comes in. He comes back to the, and we're laughing like crazy. We got it all recorded. He goes, what are you laughing about? We play it from him. He goes from being sitting upright to horizontal, dying.
Laughing.
I had been working with her almost once a week. We got really close. I had encouraged her to do comedy rap songs.
Yep.
She had, by accident, walked into one of her shops, a sound engineer, just starting out. She recorded these songs with him and then made videos from them. She goes, let's go to the studio.
Wow.
We make an appointment. We walk into the studio, nothing prepared, nothing written, just premises. In 2 hours, we record 5 10-minute stories. Okay.
Wow.
And so, long story short, over 5 years, we recorded 14 comedy albums, 14 animated shorts that some of them I've turned into animation. And so we're all set. We're raring to go. And again, don't ask me how.
Right.
The forces came to be.
It just happens.
Yeah.
And well, you seem to be a guy that's always in a creative mode. You know,
Mindset,
even when
yeah.
you in sales, your mind is always in a creative, mindset. When you're doing your comedy, when you're doing the magic, you're doing these animation things, you're always prepared to create, which is pretty impressive that you can kind of flip that switch and, okay, I'm in creation mode now, let me turn on my
Right.
phone while we're in the car and let's
Right.
create something in the moment and everything like that. And sometimes that's where you find the best stuff, is creating in the moment.
Yeah, and it's always mysterious. It's like, how the hell is this happening? But I'll recommend a book for all you young comedians out there and anybody who's listening. It's called The War of Art, and it's written by a guy named Stephen Pressfield, and he wrote the movie The Legend of Bagger Vance, which if you've never seen it, it's Will Smith
movie.
Yeah, great movie, very spiritual movie.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so it's not the art of war, it's the war of art. And what he says in that book is, between you and where you want to be on any point in your life, your goal, your mission, there's a thing called resistance, and it's real.
Yeah.
The only way, it's real, it's going to show up. Just like we said about the failures.
Yeah.
All the naysayers, all of it's there that's trying to knock you off that path. This is the battle you're going to have to go through.
Right.
And he said, and it's real. And he says, the only way to overcome this resistance is to go to work.
Yep.
Every single day, no matter how you feel, continue to work. And he says, eventually, the muse is coming.
Right.
The muse will show up. He says, I don't care what you call it, God, the universe, the muse, but it's coming, because it knows you're out there. Just to answer your question,
right?
You're being creative. You're trying to give something new to the world,
right?
And whoop, it shows up.
Wow.
Well, as you brought up the naysayers and the obstacles,
the resistance
and the resistance was the word that really made me think of it, because we as we get ready to wrap up, I think that was a great way to put it, is resistance. Our favorite question that we love to ask all of our comedian friends, and you may have one or two or three, is what we like to call the funny bad gig story. Now, those are the stories, Tom, that at the time that it was happening, not funny.
No,
not funny at all.
Made you actually want to quit comedy.
Made you think, I think Enterprise Rent-A-Car might be hiring.
Yeah, exactly.
And then a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, or however long it took you to go over that pain, you're hanging out in a green room, you're hanging out with comics, you're in the car with Tammy, and she tells you about a bad gig she had, or another comic tells you about a bad gig, and you're like, oh yeah, listen to this one. And this is your kind of one-up story, or your funny story that you tell other comics when you're comparing the war stories.
Yeah, well, I think, again, the one that stands out is the one I told earlier. Here's Barry Katz.
Yeah.
That's a pretty damn good one.
Yeah.
And Nina, and I'm riding high. I think I got it. My girlfriend's horny. She wants to get back to the apartment and have a good time. And she says, come on, let's go. I can't. I got one more show, and I'm on a roll. I'm gonna rock this joint. And silence in my whole entire career. I never went a half an hour, but the only response I got from the audience was, "Why don't you disappear?"
I love that line.
Yeah, because that's a good one.
That's something that the crowd says as a heckle. You cannot make that funny. You can't come back from that. You just have to sit in that. On stage as a comic, you just have to just wallow in that, and there's no way of getting out of that at that moment.
I remember seeing Bill Cosby interviewed once, and he talked about bombing. He says, and when you're bombing, you're on stage, and every ounce of moisture has just escaped. And he says, but for one little sweat bead that's running down your back, and it's going, you're not funny, you're not funny, you're not funny.
So true.
Yeah.
And with stand-up, the worst part is unlike improv, unlike being on a play, you are alone.
Yep. You have no one else to rely on. It's all you.
That's kind of the yin and yang of stand-up, because when you're doing great, that was all you. You created it, you performed it, you pulled that off. That was you, and there's no better feeling. But the opposite side of that is when it's going down like the Titanic, that's all you.
Yeah.
You did it.
That
You
is,
created
there's
it.
nobody else is sinking that ship other than you,
Nope.
and that's all on you.
Well, you
And
know,
that's just the way that it is. And that's, you know what? But that's the great thing about it. too.
well, you know, you finally get to that point where you really have to not give a damn. That's when you become dangerous. When you really start to say, this is just a show. This is not me.
Yeah.
And Kevin Meaney used to
Oh, rest
God
in
bless
peace,
him.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Great guy.
he used to have a bit when he'd be bombing. He would just look at you.
I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care.
The crowd isn't laughing. I don't care. Oh, that was so brilliant
And then-
when he did that, because they would start
Well,
laughing when he did that.
But
Oh,
what I also loved about it is he wouldn't stop, because then he'd get him back and
Yep.
he's like, "No, I'm going to make you
Yes,
pay
yes.
for what you did to me. One more time. I don't care.
Yes,
I don't
he would.
care."
He would do that classic thing that so many people do of you do it and you get a quick laugh.
Yep.
And then you keep doing it, and the crowd is like, "All right, enough already." And then you do it long enough that it becomes funny
To
again.
bring him back. Like, I'm not letting you off the hook until you laugh again.
Yeah,
at
yes,
this.
yes. You just keep
Yep.
going until it becomes funny again.
Well,
And he did that every time with that.
And
Yep.
one of the things, one of the best weapons of all is silence. When you get so comfortable
Yes.
with silence,
Yeah.
and that's happening, you see the train going off the tracks, the ship sinking, and all of that, and then you stop and you just go, silence. Now, there's
And you-
so much discomfort in the room. They're
Yep.
like, and you're there,
Totally fine.
totally fine.
Yeah.
And now there's a dynamic that's changed.
Yep. And you know
Yeah.
what I notice? That works in sales too.
Oh, the best.
Because in sales now, we call it positive tension,
Yes.
where you ask a question
And shut
and
up.
you don't let them off the hook. You make them answer
Yes.
you back,
Yeah.
and you just keep quiet, and they'll look at you and they're waiting for you, because most salespeople want to blurt out all the shit. And if you just stop and wait, it makes them so uncomfortable that they have to give you an answer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I had a salesman who couldn't shut up. He could not shut up. I paid to send him to so many courses. I told him, if you guys make this guy shut up, I'll give you thousands of dollars.
Right. Yeah.
And we were inside. We did the close in a big hospital, 6 or 7 people in the room, and he's sitting beside me. And I asked the question, and there's total silence, and it's getting very uncomfortable. And
Yep.
all of a sudden, he starts, "Well, you know," and I
You're kicking them under the table.
stepped on his foot.
Yeah.
And he went, "Oh!" And everybody's looking at us, but yeah, it's just
He got the hint though, right?
under control. And when I learned that trick, took that from sales
Yeah.
to the stage, very powerful.
Absolutely.
So, Tom, you mentioned your podcast. Can we promote it for you? What's your podcast?
Yeah, it's called Upbeat with Tom Hayes, and we do everything. We do comedians, but we also do motivational people. We do. I got a guy who's written a few books about gentrification and what's politics, etc. So thank you for doing that. And talk about this is the miracle age of all miracle ages, is that you can pick up the phone and you're broadcasting.
yeah.
And you've got guests and everything else. And I have to tell you, you guys are really good. I mean,
Thank you. Thanks, man.
no, you guys
Thank
are, from podcaster to podcaster, you guys are solid. And I want to, when the whole thing with COVID hit and all of a sudden we found out there's no gigs and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I've read a few books about screenplay. And one of the things, Save the Cat is my favorite book about screenplay. And in it, he talks about story. And he talks about the fact that all basic stories are about the hero being in a state of thesis. In other words, he's going about his daily life. And then all of a sudden there's an inciting incident. And he gets knocked into this upside down world. So he goes from thesis to antithesis. He's in an upside down world. He's got that we've all had, and now where am I? What am I doing? How do I get out of it? And then the third act, he has to synthesis. He has to die as the old person. He has to be reborn. And he comes to this place called the dark night of the soul, where all is lost. We've all been there.
Yep.
Everything. And so from that point forward, and if you look at a movie and you look at the timeline, it always happens with 20 minutes left. And in that 20 minutes, he has to assemble an army of things, get his stuff together, and he's got to regain the castle. So when COVID hit, I said, this is it. This is the dark night of the soul. Think of, we've been talking about egos and everything. Boy, everything got knocked on their butt pretty good, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is very important. So who is reinventing themselves? You guys. We are. Because, and think of, see, what's, Bucky Lewis and I were talking the other day, and I was able to watch what we did. And I said, there's an ingredient that you guys have. There's an intangible. This is not only educational and fun and laughs, but you make everybody comfortable.
Thanks.
No, you guys are true pros. So
thank you.
It's not just, the guest or this and that. It's not the jokes. It's that I came up for a word today that I want to get back to Bucky with, is enjoyable.
Thanks.
What you guys do, you're in full command, and you're great the way you play off each other. You're professional, and you see what people are watching when they watch you. They're watching a couple of pros. It's not like a couple of guys stumbling, and we've seen those podcasts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think part of it, Tom, is we love doing it.
Of course.
And I think that translates when people listen, and hopefully when people start watching, is that we love talking to our guests and learning about our guests. We love the stories that people tell, and we love sharing that with people. And I really think that comes across.
Well, and that's the biggest biggest compliment to us is when one of our guests says something like that.
Absolutely.
So we had Martin Olson on a couple of months ago, and I don't know if you remember Martin from the Ding Ho. He was one of the piano players.
Wow.
At the Ding Ho.
Yeah, fabulous.
Went on to move to LA, was the head writer and showrunner for Phineas and Ferb for years.
Unbelievable.
Right? And now we had never met him.
No.
All right. We reached out to him because Paul Barkley was on, and Paul was like, you guys are so much fun. You got to reach out to Martin Olson. We reached out to Martin, and by the end of the thing, he was like, man, I feel like I've known you guys forever. If I'm ever on the East Coast, I'd love to get a beer with you guys. And that makes us, because we're not here for us. We're here so that people can learn about our guests. We don't, we've already
told our stories.
Exactly. We want
our guests know us.
Yeah, we want people to hear our guests. But what makes this podcast great is the fact that we get to talk to people who, like Tom, I don't even know the last time I got to work with you, because we've said this. Once you reach headliner status, you no longer work with other headliners. Most times.
That's true.
You know? So I haven't worked with you in probably 10, 15 years, but it's great to be able to reconnect and do this.
Yeah,
absolutely. And what we're adding by these podcasts, I don't know where the hell this came from, but what we're doing with this is we're adding another dimension, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. To what comedy is.
And what I found out this week by looking at it, I goes, wait a minute, there's an intangible that's indescribable. And what that intangible is comfort. You want to hang in here and to hang with you guys, because it's like you're relaxed, and especially in these the times are crazy.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that we were nervous about, because in the beginning we only did this podcast live. Like we would have had you down here, and hung out here, which was great. Or for some of them, because, I don't know, where are you living now? Are you in New Hampshire or are you in Boston?
Again, destiny stepped in. I was living in Southie.
Yep.
And, so in one afternoon, like I was doing some consulting work for one of my buddies who owned a car dealership. I was doing some marketing things, and, that was providing a pretty good chunk of my income, and also comedy. And then one afternoon, I think it was March 11th or something, boom, gone. Both streams of income. And again, I've learned to not panic, and I've learned that there's a reason we're here, and as long as we're here, we're going to be okay.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
doing this. And so I just looked up at the sky and I said, this is going to get cute. What do you got in plan for me? And then it's been yeah. And I've been fortunate to be on unemployment, and I met a great gal just before COVID. And so I sold the place in Boston. I'm living out in a little town called Templeton, which is not far from Gardner, Massachusetts.
Yep, Central
And,
Mass.
Yeah, and I've never been happier. And what it's done is I'm working on the properties, creating more animation. I have a novel written with the two main characters. It'll be more of a young adult thing, because the two characters have all this tension. They're just friends, but underneath they really want more than that. But they
like each other.
Yeah, so it's a novel for the times, especially for kids, how to reveal their feelings for somebody. So, and it's funny. I mean, the characters. Betty's a genius. That's me, and so I'm never. And then these things happen. I mean, how did I get together? I mean, I think that's what happened. I heard Tommy Moran told me you were doing this.
Yeah.
And the day that Dennis Worth asked me, I was on his show, and then I said, if you really want to do something fun, and I hope we can do this, is
absolutely
do a tribute to Bobby Seibel.
It's funny you say that, Tom, not to interrupt you. We've been talking for a while about doing a show sometime as a tribute to a couple of the fallen comrades, basically. Yep. Bob Seibel, Kevin Knox, Rich Seisler.
Yeah.
And talk about some of these lost Boston legends that we've had, that we admire and that we've looked up to and that we've got to work with, and with such incredible people. I mean, Seisler and Knox were so huge for me when I first started and helpful to me. And then I didn't get to work with Seibel until I was in comedy for a few years, but he was awesome whenever I got to work with Bob. He was just such a great guy. These are people that unfortunately we can't interview on the show, but I want people to hear stories about them.
Because
they were incredible
they
guys,
and because they had such an impact on us,
right?
As newer comics, we want to do a tribute show for those guys. So I would love to do to do something, because I know you've got clips of Seibel.
3 hours. Something told me at some point in my life, my cousin who was helping me with the Bean Project, the toys, started taking classes where he lived in Acton at the Acton Cable. And he said, I got this brand new studio. And I thought, Bobby Seibel.
Yeah.
And I booked 3 hours, 6 half-hour shows with Bobby, and came about with 3 hours of one-on-one with him, in which, I don't know, in that 3 hours, I may have got 20 minutes in max, and the rest is him just off on a tangent.
Going off.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's his style. So we could take clips and play those.
Let's plan that, because Bob Seibel is a comic that I would love people to know more about, because he was incredible.
He was the ultimate comedic character.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
What I tell people, because I spent a week with him, a little more, in Prague when in my 50s.
Yeah.
If somebody said to me, well, listen, you can go back, but what week do you want to live? And I'd go, the week with Bobby in Prague.
In Prague.
My sides hurt. I cried with laughter. With amazing scenes that would make a great movie someday. So there's stories that just have to be shared with.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because that's going to keep those guys alive. That's what that's what we want to do.
Let's commit to getting that done right now. So we're telling our audience we're gonna put that together in the future.
We're gonna do that. And the great thing about StreamYard, which is the platform that we're on right now, is we can have up to 10 people.
Right.
So we can have you talking about Bobby. We can have Paul Barkley talking about Seisler. We can have people on talking about Noxie, and Dave Fitzgerald, another guy that we lost. That was just a great, hilarious comic. But one of the people that really made an imprint on a lot of us, like I know Matty Blake, when we had him on, said that Fitzy was really instrumental in the beginning of his career. So we will do a Boston Legends tribute show.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
and we'll definitely
We
have you
definitely
guys
got to have
on.
you on for that one, Tom. We definitely got to have you on for that one.
It'll be a riot.
Oh, it'll be so much fun.
Imagine the stories that'll be shared on that one.
And you know what?
That'd be incredible.
I don't know if she would come on, but Bobby's wife Diane, who I'm friends with on
yeah.
Facebook, and she watches the cooking show all the time. I'd love to have her on to share some stories.
Absolutely. And when Bobby passed, it was, I mean, I woke up for days every day feeling this void, like part of me had died with him. And she would call me up and say, Tom, thank you for those 3 hours of Bob. And she says, I watched them, parts of it every single day. And when I had to prepare for Dennis Worth's show, I had to review those. I had to do some editing and cutting, and I had to listen to him for the full 2 days. And it was as though he was here.
Yeah.
He was alive. He was back.
Yeah.
And every single story, I laughed every single
character.
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember who was on with us, but they talked about how upset he was that they went for ice cream one time because he was notoriously frugal. And they went, I said it a nice way, but yeah, cheap. But who was it that talked about
Mastrangelo?
He could not get over the fact that he bought a $5 ice cream cone on Martha's Vineyard or one of the islands where it was really, really expensive. And like 3 days later, he was like, I can't believe
he was still talking
$5
about
for that goddamn ice cream cone. The time he walked back, he walked to the
the opportunity to do a one-man show on Bobby Seibel.
Yeah.
And we were walking down the streets of Prague, and he's telling me, I don't care about money. I said, bullshit.
Yeah.
I said, you squeeze every penny till it hurts.
They said, I think it was Brad Mastrangelo who said he had a flight early morning, and he asked how much it would be for a cab to the airport. And then he said, okay, how long of a walk is it? And he walked to the airport from his hotel.
We stayed in a hotel that he booked that was 6 miles out of the city. And he would either walk or jog to it. He wouldn't pay the 35 cents for the metro.
Right, exactly. I know.
And on top of it, well, I'll do this real quick. He coupled the juxtaposition was he was cheap and he was a hypochondriac. Okay. So I would get phone calls. Tommy, I just got out of Lynn Medical. Guess what? They're going to give me a free colonoscopy.
That's the best of both worlds for him.
Exactly. That was heaven. That was a great day for Bob.
A medical procedure for free? That Bob's in heaven.
Yeah.
It's cheap. And I'm going, Bobby, you're not. And I'm going, you're putting me on. You're not serious.
Yeah.
Tell me, you know what these things cost? $2,000. I'm getting it for free.
Oh my God.
Oh, I could so see that whole conversation.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Oh, Tom, awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
I love it. But kudos to you guys. I had no idea what to expect. And, okay, I'm just going to tell you that during my comedy career, I've got a gift. And the gift is this God-given gift. I can recognize talent, and I can not only recognize, I can see where it's going. And I told 5 comics, only 5, that after meeting them maybe once or twice, seeing them for once, that they were going to the Tonight Show. I didn't tell 6, I didn't tell 7, I didn't have a 80% hit rate. It was a 100%. People like Brian Kiley, people like oh God, what's her name? I'm drawing a blank on her right now. But Gary Goldman, I told.
Gary, yep.
And they all looked at me because it was a year before they went, and they would say, how do you know that? And
Where's
I go,
that coming from? Right.
Every single one called me after they did it. Every single one called me, how did you know? And I know. But I'm going to take that record. I'm going to tell you, you guys have got the it factor. I'm going to tell them what they had, and you guys have got it. You're head and shoulders above what other people are doing. So
I take that in very high regards.
Absolutely,
very high regards.
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, no, that's
once I'm speechless.
What you do, you're not just rushing me through questions, and you're listening, and you make me feel comfortable. You make me feel special. And if you're doing it to me, you're doing it to all your guests.
Absolutely.
And what you get is superb shows. You know,
Thank
you
you.
pull stuff out that, you know, you're like a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat. It's magical. So I see nothing but great stuff for you guys, because the cream always does rise to the top.
Thank you, Tom. We really, really, honestly, we appreciate it, because we have been working really hard at this for a while. And if you go back and listen to the shows from 4 years ago, you may go, I don't see the it factor.
But
but
don't listen to stuff from season 1, because you'll go, guys, can you take that out of the episode? I'm taking that back.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, we like I said, we love doing it, and I think when you love,
of course,
what you're doing, it comes through. And I think that's one of the things that the our listeners enjoy, is that we are into it as much as they are.
You know, as a fellow podcaster, what we're learning, okay, we can't do stand-up the way we did, but this is like another thing. This is when you get through with one of these, it doesn't just, it's like a show that you have a killer set. It lasts for days.
Yes. Yeah. And we've been doing this since before the COVID hit last year, just like you. So it just kind of like heightened for us after COVID hit, that, okay, we can't do shows, so let's concentrate on this.
Right.
And this became our weekly focus. And just like you said, we would come off of some of these episodes each week and go, man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was, what a great conversation. Yep. And this has sustained us over this past year when we couldn't be out there doing shows and things like that. So it's been great.
Excuse me. It's the perfect time for it, because it's so positive and it's right down the middle. We're not going left and right. We're not playing into all of the cuckoo-ness that's out there right now. And like with comedy, we're trying to shine that light. You're the lighthouse.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
To our listeners, if you want to check out Tom's podcast, it is Upbeat with Tom Hayes. Yep. He's got a ton of episodes with a bunch of interesting guests. And as you can see, Tom is not only very funny, but he's very intelligent, very witty. It's a great podcast. So definitely check that out from Tom. Tom's on Facebook if you want to check him out there to see, what's going on with him. And anything else we can promote for you, Tom?
That's the Beantown Pals is the name of the animation. And if you go there, you're going to see some storybooks we've written, and you'll see our animation, and you'll get to meet the craziness of Tammy Pooler, who I feel is the next Lucille Ball easily. And thank you, guys.
Listen, thank you, Tom.
I'm going to give myself a little plug here for a second, because I've been doing voices for years. So if you ever expand the characters, because obviously you do a great job with the voice, but if you're ever looking for additional voice talent, make sure you look me up, because that's one of the things that I've been trying to expand into lately.
Absolutely. We've got when I created it, we were using an animation studio in Boston called Fablevision, and I was trying to project where this would go. And the president of the company tapped me on the back of the hand. He goes, Tom, this thing's got so many spinoffs, you're not going to have to worry about any of that. So we got tons of characters.
Perfect,
guys.
That's awesome.
All right, Tom. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tom. We appreciate it.
Me too. Love you guys.
Love you too, buddy.
All right.
See ya. All right. And that was Tom Hayes. That was an awesome conversation. I mean, I can't, you know what? It doesn't, we're looking at the clock and it's literally been like 2 hours.
I didn't even realize that.
It did not.
I did not even realize that
at all. Yeah, at all. Because you know what? We've always talked about how people, comics are storytellers. But someone who as much experience as Tom, and as much experience in a lot of different things. He's got a lot of different stories to tell.
Phyllis Diller.
Yeah.
Shecky Green.
Yeah, no shit.
Henny.
I know. Carla Mulhern would be in in heaven right now, knowing that he worked with Shecky Green.
People whose faces would be on a comedy Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's worked and met them. The story of losing his leg and overcoming that obstacle. I mean, just a positive outlook, always moving forward, always working,
and always looking for something else to spark the creative juices.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Creative guy that is always in that creative mindset, and what can I do with this, and how can I progress it forward?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's just, I feel inspired after talking.
I
to
know.
him.
I know. I feel like a schmuck. Like I
I'm
haven't
like-
done shit with
I'm
my
like,
life.
I did a set Sunday night and I only did 2 new jokes. I gotta go home and write shit now.
Yeah, right.
Because I can't keep up with Tom.
I know.
But that
That was
this
awesome.
is the whole reason why this podcast started, is for conversations like that.
Exactly.
That's
Absolutely.
exactly what it was. So
Absolutely. And you know, we've said it before. We're not like scripted where we have to ask this question or that question. We just
Nope.
want to have a conversation with
I want to
people.
hear their story from them, and that's exactly what we got
Exactly.
tonight. So perfect. I don't want to beat it to death. You know, that was great, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as we did. Don't forget to share us with a friend.
Absolutely.
5-star reviews are a huge help for the podcast.
We cannot thank you enough. The past couple of months have been amazing for the amount of downloads. We're
I'm
growing, which is fantastic.
growing bigger than I could ever have imagined, and
the fact that we're doing this you know, video now as well as audio, despite the fact of having faces for radio, we really appreciate that you guys are interested in watching it.
Yes.
You know, you can finally see us drinking Jefferson bourbon, you know.
Yes.
But no, we really appreciate all the listeners, and now the people who are watching on YouTube, on our video YouTube channel. And other than that, I don't know what else to say.
Well, sure you do.
Oh yeah, we will see you
Next week. And the broadcasts.